Hi, with Andre Klass. He is running for Seminole County Commission, District 5 in Florida. And I was reaching out, trying to hear for candidates who have been really hitting the ground and getting their message out. And someone told me I should talk to Andre. So, Andre, first of all, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone, who you are and what you're running for?
You got it, Ryan, and thank you for having me. So my name is Andre Klass, and I am running for the County Commission of Seminole County, Florida as a Libertarian Party candidate. I am running for the District 5 seat, but it is an at-large position, so the whole county votes. Seminole County is the third most dense county in the state of Florida with a population of nearly 472,000 residents, of which 3/4 of them are registered voters, and we have a unique demographic split of about 1/3 Republican, 1/3 Democrat, and 1/3 independent NPA or other. I was the first to file in the race over 2 years ago and the first to achieve ballot qualification after collecting over 3,000 signatures, making me the first candidate in the entire county to secure ballot access in his or her race by petition. I'm a lifelong Seminole County resident, just trying to do my part to preserve and enhance our quality of life. And of course, running for office has been the thrill of a lifetime with so many wonderful experiences I've gotten to have and already making positive impacts on the issues.
Awesome. And so let's talk about the issues here. First of all, you mentioned on your website restoring transparency and accountability. I love what you say right here. It says many candidates and people in office believe that once they become elected, they are entitled to impose their own viewpoints, opinions, and choices upon the constituents they govern. That is not the way it's supposed to work. Kind of paraphrasing and leaving some out there. So what sort of things can you do to improve transparency and accountability in Seminole County?
Well, thank you for asking, Ryan. And indeed, empowering the citizenry is the most important thing any potential elected official or any person in office should strive to do. In the end, this here on the local level is one of the most important aspects of politics because these are the decisions being made on a day-to-day basis that affect your quality of life, your family's quality of life, and the community around you. Every time you get up, wake up, and walk out the door, go to work, or go to a different public facility, for example, like a school or a park, that these are the decisions that affect your life. And so I strongly believe that members of the community should be able to have a more direct impact and a direct understanding that the voices of the citizens needs to be heard and respected. So there's a few different avenues that I want to potentially pursue. And throughout this campaign, of course, I've been very much advocating for the restoration of the County Citizens Academy program, a Citizens Academy program which is implemented essentially an inside window to the workings of our local government. So I did one in the city of Sanford, as well as with the Seminole County Fire Department and the Sheriff's Department. And I believe that these are valuable tools for citizens to know what's going on. And thanks to my own advocacy over the past 2 years campaign, the county actually restored it after the incumbent originally told me, hey, there's no money to educate citizens because of this, that, and the other. And so I can already tout that as one of my accomplishments that I've made so far. And all in all, a lot of people just don't really know what's going on. Right now, we're in the midst of our 10-year comprehensive plan review, and that determines about the planning and zoning of what development's going to be built here or there. Many people don't necessarily realize that county government has a public forum portion that citizens can directly voice their concerns to our elected leadership. And in general, the structure of our government, we really need to make things a lot easier to understand and give residents an even greater control of their destiny. And part of what you said, Ryan, from my platform about where elected officials have been imposing their views on the citizenry, in my county, we've had a cycle where incumbent elected officials who have been beholden to developers, special interests, and other elemental groups have been making decisions that aren't necessarily in the best interest of the community. And in the end, we need to have a more citizen-led government where we're making more positive decisions and also being held accountable for those decisions that are being made.
Okay. All right. So another topic you bring up is people's right to choose. I know it looks like you guys down there, you have the rural city boundary where you have more a wilderness area and more rural living versus the suburban and urban areas. And I guess maybe I may be interpreting it wrong, but I understand there's basically kind of a general zoning area where, you know, you have the rural lifestyle. So what can you do as a libertarian to protect people's right to live in the way they choose in Seminole County?
Well, in my county, we actually have an area in the eastern part of the county. It's a pretty large chunk comprising the majority of District 2 and a good part of District 1. And the Seminole County rural boundary was actually established as an amendment to the county charter by majority vote of the citizens of our county back in 1990, and then subsequently again in 2004, where there was also another special election vote giving that exclusive authority to the county commission in regards to maintaining that rural boundary and making the decisions as it relates to those zoning guidelines. Now, it's a three-part element into why I support maintaining the rural boundary, and not just because the majority of the citizens, of course, like myself, care deeply about our natural lands, but there's also the benefit of indeed that right to live as we see fit. And a lot of people in those areas have purchased that property because they like having that backwoods lifestyle. They like having that increased spacing, but you also would be hitting taxpayers with a major burden if you were to extend more urban sprawl development and infrastructure down into those areas. And these areas also have a lot of threatened species, and it's also a natural floodplain. So on top of that, you'd also literally be putting development where they can easily flood over another major event. And of course, you know, Central Florida is indeed prone to a lot of tropical weather. And indeed, the right to live as we see fit, it's that libertarian philosophy. It goes hand in hand with defending the rural boundary because these residents want to continue living with that standard, that quality of life that they had elected for, and for the citizens to make a statement by actually voting for this twice. I have a duty as an elected official to defend and uphold the will of the citizens.
Awesome. So another topic you talk about is, and when we, as libertarians, sometimes we view government services maybe as a necessary evil or as the lesser of an evil versus like a public monopoly or vice versa. We can debate it to no end. But in the end, at times, local governments will enact services like having firefighters and police departments. And being competitive is important to make sure that the people you train don't just leave, just like in any private business. And it sounds to me like Seminole County might have a problem with that. What sort of things can you do to actually not cost the county taxpayers money for their services?
Well, I'm definitely glad you asked. And it also balances hand in hand with the need for more fiscal responsibility and accountability. Because literally right now, our county has building a 700-foot long, $5.5 million road to nowhere. And it absolutely disgusts me seeing these misappropriations when we need to be able to reinvest the money that's being collected back into community, back into our infrastructure, back into our services. And the immediate answers every time there's a shortfall should not be, let's keep raising taxes. I truly believe that if we are more frugal and we are more responsible with how our tax dollars are being spent, that we can achieve everything we need to achieve to defend and not only enhance our quality of life without the need to raise taxes, but in general, I think our firefighters that are currently making about 10 to 25% less than our surrounding counties can potentially be paid a fair wage. We can go without letting little problems become big problems, which end up costing us a lot more in the end. And in general, as a board member of my own community association, I've already built a track record of being able to socially unite a fractured community balance a multi-million-dollar budget and make important reinvestments in the community's infrastructure, even handling a major crisis such as a seawall collapse without once having to raise community assessments a single time over my many years of tenure on the board. And I'm glad I was able to, of course, own my own home since I was 19. And by applying my personal ethics and being able to apply those values of being financially responsible on my own level and in my community's level, I know I have what it takes to apply these principles onto the larger level as a whole.
Okay. So another thing on your website, and I think this is near and dear to every libertarian out there, is leveling the playing field for local businesses. You know, subsidies and tax credits that favor one business is generally just picking winners and losers, in my opinion, and I think for many
Exactly.
others. So what can you do from the county level to protect the local businesses in your area?
Well, the main thing is ending corporate welfare. It just disturbs me to no end. I mean, major cell company Verizon has been getting millions of our tax dollars. And the very company that produced the botched unemployment system, which is the very reason that many people who have been looking for unemployment checks in this crisis didn't get them, it's called Deloitte, and it's in Lake Mary. They have to date received $1.7 million of handouts from a combination of both the city of Lake Mary and the Seminole County government. They are slated over the next 5 years to receive another $1.1 million. And before COVID, when it was even starting, they actually had the audacity to try to come back to ask for more money. And I'm not talking about tax credits from a CRA. I'm talking about actual cash money being handed from our county and city government to this multi-million dollar technology company that has procured lots of government contracts over the years. It absolutely disgusts me. At the same time, we have companies that are nearly being small businesses, locally owned businesses that are being bankrupted before they even get off the ground, thanks to burdensome permit processes and disproportional impact fees that many times locally owned businesses trying to start are paying more in impact fees than mega developers and large companies simply because the county government is just not being neutral as it relates to these situations. The way to attract a big company or the way to attract more jobs is simply by maintaining our current status and continuing to build on that as one of the best places to live and one of the best economic climates available. But essentially, when government is picking winners and losers in a local economy, it affects the ability of small, locally owned, homegrown businesses to be able to succeed and thrive on their own merits. That essentially government is artificially been creating competition, which then harms that local business. And I've been meeting with a lot of local business owners over the past several months, gauging the impact of COVID-19 on them, including today. And it just hurts my heart that a local engraving business, which has been down about 40% in business lately, is they're working hard, they're family-run company, and they're having to compete against other equipment manufacturers in the county, which have been getting handouts of our tax dollars, and it absolutely disgusts me. And it's happening on all sorts of levels: automotive dealerships, tourist attractions, hoteliers. I mean, it's just so widespread right now, and I truly believe that that needs to be reined in, and that money that's been going to all these different companies should be instead reinvested back into Seminole County, back into our public service facilities, reinvested back into our public safety and our infrastructure, and you name it. Because in the end, this is money that's coming out of my pocket. This is money that's coming out of all the citizens' pockets. And at the same time, we're giving all these handouts. We're building all these port projects. At the same time, we have communities like Midway that have been so poorly disenfranchised and neglected by our county government, where they have roads that aren't paved, They don't have access to a proper sewer system, and they have major drainage problems, even in everyday storms where the roads are flooding over. And at the same time, there's public safety concerns. I mean, you can go up and down the list, but it just so disturbs me that resources would otherwise be able to be there had they not been squandered. And then these residents get told, oh, they'll get what they are asking for if they pay for it. I'm like, they're paying for it already. They're already paying their fair share of taxes when they're paying each and every year. And you know the motto, taxation if theft? That is oh so true. When our residents are being taxed and that money is not being used for the goods and services that they are expecting to receive from them. And it happens, it's happening each and every day. And it honestly, I decided to get involved because I'm sorry, yeah. What inspired me really to get involved is when watching groups, members of the community trying to band together and trying to fight for their quality of life. From seeing the continuous same cycle of toxic politics going on with the hustling and bustling of the misuse of our tax dollars. And I've had enough. And I've learned over the years to be the change you want there to be, you have to be that force of change that you want to see. And that's what one of the main reasons that inspired me to run, that these people are desperate for change. That's one of the reasons that so many people were signing my petition early on. That's one of the reasons I became the first to file, the first to qualify, because these citizens are like, enough's enough. We need representation that's serving them and putting them first always.
Absolutely. So, coming down here, I mean, we're like 50 days from election day here, just under actually now. So, what sort of things do you need for your campaign? What can people around the country do to help your campaign right now today?
I'm very glad you asked, Brian. But before I get into that, I would like the opportunity to talk about the successes of this campaign so far and why my race is entirely winnable. So being involved and engaged has been one of my biggest strengths. I've been using the qualification process as an opportunity to maintain that involvement and learn about different perspectives on the issues, because in the end, the issues I'm fighting for aren't just libertarian issues, but they're about being able to work together along all sides of the political spectrum and focus on those core quality of life goals that in the end we can all agree upon. And my successful application of libertarian philosophies to these issues have won me a lot of favor from both Democrats and Republicans and independent voters all around. In the most recent straw poll, I actually gained a solid victory with 45% of the vote in that poll, which is 20 percentage points higher than the second place Republican establishment opponent. And indeed, I am fighting a system that is, of course, being driven by a lot of big money, but I have not let that stop me. I have not let that deter me. I've been continuing full force with this effort, and it's literally become my entire life when I'm not working my 40-hour work week. So it's definitely a winnable race, and I'm proud to have the support so far of 5 elected officials within my county. I've also have the support and endorsement of our Libertarian nominees. Spike Cohen has already gone public with his endorsement, and I've been told to expect one from Dr. Joe Jorgensen very, very short order. And I've been having an absolute blast in being able to maintain that positivity, being able to be that force of unity that our community needs. I'm confident that even if I do not win, which I'm pretty sure I will, but even if I do not, that from this campaign I've been able to be a greater force for good and be able to uplift our community. That it's just a privilege to be able to represent the Libertarian Party in such a strong manner and be able to do all these great works for the Seminole County community and for beyond. Now, of course, there are many different needs as we get closer. So we are, in fact, at 48 days out from the general election, so less than 7 weeks to go. And one thing you will be excited to know is that I've been making sure to make the most cost-effective method of outreach possible, including a billboard on the interstate for a mass reach of all of our working public going to and from work across the county. I've also been working on reaching target super voters in target precincts, working on getting a mailing together right now. And if I can, I'd also like the opportunity to get some TV time. And local news has actually been making a point to interview me. And I'm actually going to be in 6 upcoming candidate forums on a 3-way stage with both the Democratic and the Republican opponents. And I'm showing the world right now, hey, Libertarians can have a good, solid poised position on the debate stage. And of course, if you're listening to this and you are on the Commission of Presidential Debates, please let Dr. Jo Jorgensen on the stage where she is rightfully entitled to be. Okay, but back to my race here. So I'm on the verge of hitting my initial fundraising target, which was $20,000. I'm very, very shy of that right now. I'm confident that if I'm able to to hit that mark, that I'll be able to continue putting on a very strong showing against my establishment opponents. And ideally, of course, the more the better. And so I kindly ask, if you are able to help, to please consider going onto my website. It is yournextcommissioner.com. And any amount, whether it's $5, $50, or up to the maximum allowable statutory contribution of $1,000, every penny, I assure you, will be put to good use. And any assistance that you can provide would be, of course, greatly appreciated in helping to secure this all-important victory in the heart of Central Florida's I-4 corridor.
All right. So last question I kind of have for you tonight is, what advice would you give to people who want to get involved in the Libertarian Party, whether that be getting involved in someone's campaign or in the party itself, or even in your campaign? What would you tell them to do out there?
I actually used to be quite fearful, to be honest, growing up, of being able to speak out and be involved. I was one of the most introverted persons you could ever meet, which, knowing me today, you probably could never even be able to tell that. I grew up with an autism spectrum condition called Asperger's syndrome, which affects essentially perception of the world around me. And when I was 2 years old, the doctors didn't even think I'd ever even be able to speak. Yet here I am speaking live before you all today. I'm trying to be that proof that any ordinary citizen, not beholden to the establishment, can potentially rise up and make a difference. And be courageous. Don't be afraid. Because in the end, it's you that can be the driving force to make that all-important difference, to make that positive impact. And in the end, regardless of whether you win or lose, just from being involved, you are already a winner. Your voice absolutely counts, whether you're doing something as basic as speaking out at a county meeting to being open and willing to discuss the issues on either a local or national level. That in the end, you have what it takes. I'm living proof of this. And of course, I'm hoping from my campaign, being one of the most active and engaging campaigns and longest running campaigns in the 2020 election cycle, I hope that I can potentially be an inspiration to anyone within the sound of my voice to be able to step up and be that force for change.
All right, Andre, I really appreciate your time coming on here tonight, and I thank everyone in the audience for listening, and I wish you the best of luck, and just keep doing what you're doing, man. Thank you so much for what you do.
You got it, Ryan, and thank you very much for having me on the show. And again, my website is yournextcommissioner.com, and my active, engaging Facebook page is Andre for Seminole. And of course, please give me a like as well, and that will, of course, help bolster my presence and reach as well.
All right. Thank you very much.